Thank you for tuning in to This Week Explained, the intelligence-based geopolitical podcast that keeps you informed about the world around you. We are grateful for your support and appreciate you being a part of our community of informed listeners. We would love for you to share This Week Explained with your friends, family, and colleagues. Together, we can make a difference by sharing knowledge and fostering meaningful conversations. So, what are you waiting for? Help us grow our community by sharing This Week Explained with your loved ones.
You are now listening to This Week Explained.
Hello, and welcome to This Week Explained, the independent geopolitical podcast that tackles all the major global events. We're glad that you're here as we bring you all the insights and analysis on what's happening around the world. As always, I'm Tiana with Kervin as my co-host. Together, we'll help you understand the complexities of our dynamic, ever-changing world. Let's get to what's on the agenda this week, Kervin.
All right. Obviously, Russia-Ukraine, but there's a bit of an odd news story, I would say, as Prigozhin's will, Prigozhin's will was released, and it said that his son might be taking over the Wagner Group.
But that's his will, and do you really think that Putin is going to honor that? I doubt that seriously. The man who, we're pretty sure, killed his father.
Yeah.
Why would he? Okay. Sorry.
How many movies have we seen where that is the whole basis? You killed my father, and I'm coming after you.
Exactly. So
yeah.
I don't think he's going to be taking up the mantle, at least not without a fight on his hands.
That's true. We're going to talk about the tensions rising in Kosovo. So another one of the conflicts we were looking at coming into 2023 could be on the cusp of a new conflict there. I want to talk about the recent elections in Slovakia, which kind of elected what I would consider a pro-Russian candidate. So you can only imagine what kind of geopolitical impacts that's going to have. We'll move over to Africa because Mali is seeing a resurgence in insurgency, in terrorism in their country. I wonder why that might be, and we'll get into that. We'll then talk about how Russia is recruiting Cubans to fight in the war in Ukraine, how they're being successful in doing that and why that's important. And then finally, we talked about this either last week or the week before, but the Sino-Russian relations are not in good standing right now, and they had yet another problem within their relations, and we'll get into, is it a big deal? Can they move past it, or are we seeing fractures within that alliance?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. My bulky blender was such a pain to use, I ended up hardly ever using it at all. But the BlendJet 2 portable blender makes blending so easy and convenient, I use it just about every day. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. It lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via a USB-C cord. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go. With over 30 plus colors and patterns to choose from, there's a BlendJet 2 to complement just about any style. I absolutely love the Lisa Frank edition. What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code Analytics12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to the quality, power, and innovation of BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code Analytics12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever. All right, well, let's get right into it. What is the latest coming out of Ukraine?
Yeah, according to recent reports, Western military ammunition stockpiles are running low, and production needs to be increased to help Ukrainian fighters. Ukrainian forces fired cluster munitions at several villages in Russia's southern region of Bryansk as part of their counteroffensive. But speaking of the counteroffensive, one of Ukraine's top generals has said that his forces are continuing to advance south, and they are making that advancement.
Well, I saw that Prigozhin's son, Pavel, might be taking over as leader of the Wagner Group. Is this true? And what exactly does that mean for the future of the infamous mercenary group?
Yeah, definitely very interesting turn of events there. Like I said, it was brought to light after an image of the will started to circulate on those pro-Russian Telegram channels. Now, some within the Prigozhin family feel as though the will's not legal. They think it's one of those where they kind of skirted legality to make the will so that Pavel can take over. So the family's fighting or vowing to fight against Pavel's rights to all of his father's fortunes.
So his own family is saying, no, this is not a valid will?
Yes, and as you and I both know, this happens quite frequently.
Yeah, it's when the death of a loved one comes along, you kind of see the ugly
people's
side
true colors.
You really do.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about all of Prigozhin's fortunes, not just the Wagner Group. It's the houses, it's money.
So he was doing everything, and everybody else in the family was just being left out in the cold.
As far as what we know right now, it would all go to Pavel.
But also, like I said, what's stopping Putin from, like, he's basically seized the Wagner Group, so what's stopping him from seizing everything else? Because in his mind's eye, obviously, Prigozhin is a traitor, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
he definitely. I mean, come on, we haven't confirmed it yet, but we all know that it wasn't just malfunction on the aircraft that made it explode and killed Yevgeny Prigozhin.
If it was, the timing is really suspicious.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So I mean,
so we know
you can't come out here and flat out say, yes, this is exactly what happened. It is still us speculating on things, but context clues, guys. We all learned this in school. We know.
Yeah, we get it. And so if Pavel's listening, and I doubt, but if you are listening, don't get on a plane. But don't go to Russia. I would say don't even go to Russia.
I don't even know how he would take ownership of all of these things without going through, without somebody stepping in from the Russian government. It just doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, and so this secession suggests the continuation of the Prigozhin family's influence in Russia. So if he were to take over, that means
not mad. So he's not mad at the whole family. It's not, sins of the father kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I do believe, not knowing much about Pavel because he's kind of stayed out of the public eye, and looking at some things that he posts and pictures of him, he is really, if you think of that kid that has always been rich and has always been given things, he's really got that same sort of personality.
Entitlement.
Yeah, very much entitled. And so the rest of the family, if it's true that Pavel's going to take over the entire fortune, the rest of the family is obviously going to be pissed about that.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to come to some sort of agreement. But the fact that he would get all of this just shows that they still have this influence in Russia, just for what you said, because Putin could just take all of that and keep it, and he hasn't. But if Pavel does take over Wagner, and he returns that group to a Kremlin-aligned force like we saw before the attempted coup.
Right.
It's definitely going to further destabilize the region, and it's definitely, Russia's already got strained relations with the West. This is definitely going to strain Russia relations with Western countries even more so.
Do you know if he had any more children besides Pavel?
It's a great question, and I don't I don't know that, and I didn't even
Okay.
think about it.
If you knew. Well,
I'll look it
does it appear as though he will take orders from Putin?
Well, right now, he's in negotiations with the Russian National Guard, the Rosguardia, trying to return the Wagner Group to combat operations in Ukraine. So this indicates a return to special operations tactics against Ukraine, which to me says he is going to take orders from Putin. Now, the last time we discussed Wagner forces within Ukraine, and that was before the short-lived attempted coup, they were heavily involved in fighting, especially against the counteroffensive in Bakhmut that Ukraine was doing. But they're also been accused of human rights abuses in multiple countries, Syria, Libya, also in Ukraine. So it's going to be concerning because it really feels like Pavel is going to keep the same leadership his father had, and Pavel's leadership may perpetuate more concerns and then exacerbate Russia's international image.
Well, while NATO's stockpiles are depleting and the Prigozhin family appears to be staying in power, another conflict that made your top 5 to watch in 2023 may be brewing. What can you tell us about clashes between Kosovo and Serbia? I know we've talked about them a couple times this year, including last week. So what's going on now?
we had 30 heavily armed Serbs stormed the northern Kosovo village of Banjska, and that resulted in the death of one Kosovo policeman and three of the Serbian attackers were killed as well. And it's this incident that is raising concerns about tensions between Serbia and Kosovo. And both sides are, as always, as geopolitics works, they're blaming each other for the attack.
So what are the implications of this incident for the region and, beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, it remains very complex. Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008, but Serbia doesn't recognize that independence. The EU and the US, so the European Union and the United States, have been working for over a decade to encourage Serbia and Kosovo to resolve their difference and normalize relations, but this kind of stuff has happened, and it continues to happen. And this incident raised questions about who is truly in control in the area and what are their true motivations behind these attacks.
Well, given that it is a complex situation, do you have any predictions on whether or not things may escalate?
Well, it's difficult to say, at this point. I did make it one of my 2023 conflicts to watch because I do think that the current state of affairs in that region leads to an armed conflict. Serbia has deployed more forces near the Kosovo border. That prompted calls for de-escalation from the United States. NATO's increasing its peacekeeping presence in northern Kosovo due to that escalation. The UK also announced that it's going to send troops to support NATO's peacekeepers on the ground. So efforts by the EU and the US to broker a lasting peace between Kosovo and Serbia are ongoing, but they continue to face ongoing challenges, primarily related to the status of northern Kosovo. And that's where a lot of Serbian people, it's a Serbian majority, and that's where they reside.
Well, what would all of this mean for NATO in the West?
So Serbia's deployment of military equipment from both Russia and China has raised concerns about the country's intentions. So the White House National Security Council spokesperson, that's John Kirby, confirmed a significant Serbian military deployment of tanks and artillery along the border. He described it as a very destabilizing development. So this could once again pull NATO and the U.S. into this proxy-type war with Russia. That's because we see a pro-Russian Serbian force attacking Kosovo. So it could lead to more sanctions against Russia. We see how well that's going. And then you would probably see the NATO and the U.S. support Kosovo with military equipment, much like we're seeing with Ukraine. Now, Kosovo's Prime Minister, Albin Kurti, expressed the need for NATO's presence. He wants NATO there, and that's scary for Russia. That's what they've been outspoken about through all of this. But the Kosovo Prime Minister has said that Serbia's recent strengthening of military capacities along the border has him concerned. He emphasized Kosovo's commitment to its own independence. We talk about sovereignty a lot. That's something that I don't think Russia and China care too much about.
Yeah, they don't care.
Obviously. And so Kosovo's looking at their own sovereignty, and Belgrade in Serbia and Moscow in Russia have refused to recognize Kosovo since they declared their independence in 2008.
Well, there is a lot going on in Europe this week. Like, for instance, 2024 is going to be a huge year globally because many nations are holding their very contentious elections.
Yep.
But 2023 has seen some surprising outcomes as well. This time it's Slovakia, which elected a pro-Russian party to lead its parliament. So what can you tell us about the winner and what that could mean for the balance of power in Europe?
So it's Robert Fico, he's this pro-Russian populist, and he leads the party that won the parliamentary elections in Slovakia. His campaign used the migrant crisis that's going on in Europe and the need to stop support for Ukraine as a platform to win this election. Think about that in terms of like how we view U.S. politics, and it's sort of the same discussion, right? Migrant crisis, support for Ukraine. Those are the two big things globally. And so this has raised concerns about Slovakia's future stance on Russia. And then if they do go to a more pro-Russian, how does that change their relations with the West?
Well, with Slovakia being a NATO country, what does that mean for the organization as well as the current state of Ukrainian support?
So the victory could pose a challenge to NATO and European unity on Ukraine. The rhetoric that's happening in Slovakia stands in stark contrast to the policies of the outgoing parliament in Slovakia. They've already sent $700 million in direct military aid to Ukraine over the first 19 months of the war.
And that's a small country.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I wish I would have, when doing the research, looked at, kind of compared to GDP or per capita, who was actually sending the most per capita. But for them, that's a ton of money for a smaller economy.
Money, right.
Now, Fico has vowed to withdraw Slovakia's military support for Ukraine in Russia's war. If his party achieves a majority in Slovakia, so right now they're, I think, at between 24 and 28%, but it's above the next one, which was at 18 to 20%. So they're getting a majority, and if he can get his faction above 50% within parliament, there's going to be a lot that they can do to withhold that funding to Ukraine. Now, we kind of already saw this disillusionment with the continued support for Ukraine earlier this year as the war progressed past that 1 year mark. We kind of talked about that. I think people are getting disillusioned to it. Yeah, war fatigue.
Yeah.
And in our predictive analysis, it was obvious that we were going to start seeing these fractures in support, especially among those smaller European nations.
But it's not just the smaller nations that are questioning further support for Ukraine. Even in our country, the Republican Party is being fractured due to some within its ranks questioning the amount being sent to support Ukraine's war. Is this due to Russian propaganda effectively influencing the narrative among these countries? Or do you think it's more the fact that these countries are struggling economically and need to reevaluate where their money is going, especially in order to keep their civilian populations happy, who are already struggling?
Yep. Yeah, and I think so many global leaders lose focus of that. And I do love that you do that. You bring that focus right back. Hey, we're talking about real people who are struggling financially, physically, emotionally, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Russian influence is having an effect on the world stage. The narrative that Russia invaded Ukraine because of NATO is gaining traction. But I am seeing it more now than I did at the beginning of the war.
Okay.
I think Russia's really making a push to get Western countries.
They're casting a net, like a wide net out and trying to see what sticks, like what stays in there. They're like, we're going to blame everybody.
Think of it as like a PR representative, right? Who's like marketing or something. And you're going to do like 3 or 4 things and figure out which one sticks. So it's like NATO's too close. Boom. Ukraine is filled with Nazis. Does that stick?
No, that didn't stick too well, I don't think.
Russia, Russian sovereignty. Ukraine is actually Russian, so we need to invade it. They did they just like you said, cast out a wide net, see what hits. and right now it's what I'm seeing as far as through Telegram channels or social media is the NATO talk is gaining traction. Well, stop supporting Ukraine because Russia had a right to do it because NATO is along their border. And like I said, it lacks context because Ukraine wasn't they're still not a NATO country.
Yeah.
They still said they wouldn't ask to be a NATO country if Russia would come to the table and talk a peace deal.
Yeah.
So if Russia was worried about NATO, they should have attacked NATO directly. That's what Poland was scared of.
Yeah.
They thought if the rhetoric is true that Russia is scared of NATO because it has nuclear weapons and it is an affront to Russia's sovereignty, they would be attacked. That didn't happen. It would be as if, Mexico joins BRICS, the U.S. gets upset, and we invade Canada. What? Why? That's how I see it. Now Russia is trying to reimagine its invasion story.
Right.
So just like we said, Nazis are there, or it's an affront to Russian sovereignty. Now they go, well, let's go back to the NATO thing. I think enough people in Western Europe dislike NATO that we can do it.
Yeah.
But you asked about maybe it's because these countries are struggling economically. And yes, the global economy is trending downward and people are rightfully worried about their finances. But Russia's invasion of Ukraine is affecting our pocketbooks. Even if the U.S. didn't send money to Ukraine, and they're not sending the money that you see posted, $8.2 billion or whatever. They're sending equipment that cost a certain amount of money to manufacture 10 years ago. And so we put that.
And then we upsell it.
Yeah. But, so that's affecting our pocketbooks. In an individual level, it's affecting you. And many leaders are reevaluating the support being given to Ukraine because they want to help their constituents in their pocketbooks.
I think it's more because 2024 is an election year for so many people, and they know that everybody's patience is waning rapidly.
Yep.
In so many areas, like they're just tired. Okay, for now, I think we need to move on to Africa, as we are already seeing the effects of the French forces leaving the region. So let's start with the first thing. What is the latest coming out of Mali?
Yeah, so we kind of saw this coming, didn't we? We talked about this every time. So right now, Islamist militants this week imposed a blockade on Timbuktu, cutting off road, river, and air routes to the city. This offensive escalated the jihadist insurgency.
Oh my gosh, you cannot talk today. You have stumbled over so many words.
I know. It's a tough one.
Slow. Just talk slowly. You don't have to get through it so fast. It's not a race.
I've got it all in my head and I'm trying to regurgitate it. You know how I get.
I know, babe, but there's no rush. It's okay. We're going to get through it. We have nothing waiting for us after we're done recording.
Oh, yeah, we do. We got taquitos.
Well, no, that's not even what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, just relax. It's okay.
All right, Frank Grillo, here we go. Relax. I see it right here. Still there.
Yep, still there.
Yeah, so I'm going to calm down a little bit.
Okay.
Slow it down.
Do you want me to re-ask the question so you can remember where you were? Okay.
No, I got it.
Okay.
It was in my brain, and now I'm going to slowly regurgitate it.
See, if I would have cut you off like that and started giving you a pep talk, like my response would have just quickly exited my brain. I would have to sit here for 5 minutes to remember what we were talking about. But good for you. You're still sharp. Let's go.
Well, just for today, I had my mushroom coffee.
You did
Not a sponsor.
Yeah.
So now remember, this is what I was trying to get at.
Oh yeah,
because
not mushroom coffee.
Right. You first of all, you asked what's the latest coming out of Mali, but you really said, we're seeing the effects of French forces leaving the region. And yes, Mali is relying on Wagner forces and Russian support. So this is a case study in what kind of support works best, right?
Right.
Is it Western counterterrorism campaign that has been there the last decade, or is it this Russian influence campaign? Which one is the better one?
Is Wagner really big on humanitarian efforts? Do they actually
the opposite?
Okay. Well, I wanted to see if we go in there, we do meddle a lot, but we do at least try to offer some sort of humanitarian support. I was just wondering if the Wagner forces or, the Russian support that they are relying on come in, wipe out whatever the current issue is, and then just leave, and they consider that, call it a day.
That is definitely exactly what's going on.
More like that. Okay. I was just wondering if they...
So it's a lot like... Sorry, it's a lot like if you and I talk about China and what they do in Russia, which is exactly what you just said. Come in, do what they got to do, get out. No monetary, no humanitarian support, nothing.
Because it's not really about the people of the country. It's about the control of the whole... Yeah. Okay. Well, you kind of... let's get back on topic. I keep deviating. You kind of alluded to this, but what are the broader implications of this conflict of, France pulling out there?
Yeah, this resurgence in jihadist insurgency poses a major threat. It's not only to Mali, but also to regional stability.
Right.
And open a map. Look how close those countries are to Europe. So instability in that region could lead to... Bleed over.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Let's talk about the migrant crisis. So when countries like this get overrun with insurgency, you see families that need to leave. They need to get out because they're going to die otherwise. So they go to a place where it's safer and more free, and they'll go to Europe. And so that influx, not that I'm not saying those people are bad people that move over into Europe, but when you add people, thousands and thousands of people at a time, and a country doesn't have the ability and the infrastructure to take in that amount of people, it affects everybody. It's bad for the migrants coming across. It's bad for the country they're going into. So regional stability is huge. The humanitarian crisis is escalating. Civilians are bearing the brunt of violence. Isn't that always how it goes?
That usually is how it goes. A very small group of people are benefiting from all of these conflicts. Very small group of people.
Yep.
At the very top, of course.
All of
it trickles down. It's like trickle down suffering.
I said trickle down suffrage, but that's different. Trickle down suffrage is good, right?
I didn't say suffrage. I said suffering.
No, you did. I was about to say trickle down suffrage.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, that's actually a good thing, right?
Good thing. That's good.
It used to be that only the people in power got to vote. Now we trickle it down to the normies like us.
Like the women.
But the withdrawal of UN forces there has created a security vacuum that we've talked about a lot. And those militant groups, as we're seeing in Mali, they're exploiting this.
Does this mean that the new security pact in the Western Sahel is already failing? Because that seemed really hopeful.
Yeah, and it's still hopeful. Honestly, it's still too early to say whether the new security pact is failing or not. It was signed less than a month ago.
Right.
And it remains to be seen how effective it's going to be in addressing the security challenges in the region. If, like we talked about, they are doing this for themselves to improve their countries, it's going to be a good thing. If they are doing this to consolidate power in order to, control the population, thank you, it's going to be bad. We don't know right now. So it's going to be a huge test for that security pact. We'll see how it turns out.
We'll talk about it on This Week Explained.
Next week on This Week Explained.
Well, it might not be next week, but it'll be soon. Anyways, so what can other countries do to help Mali?
Yeah, so several ways other countries can help Mali, but it remains to be seen if they're going to allow for outside forces to engage that renewed insurgency.
Right.
But the ongoing conflict in Mali has created a humanitarian crisis, like we talked about. Many people are displaced. They're in need of assistance. So countries start working on plans for financial and material aid to Mali, where the aid is sent directly to those in need, right?
Does that ever
Don't
happen?
just throw it to the government or,
Say, you guys can decide how you spend this, but it should be for your people.
I don't think anybody in power at these nonprofits I'm about to say listen, so I'll say it right now. The Red Cross, don't throw money at the Red Cross. They're not there to support the people on the ground. They're there to be one of the major nonprofits, CEO making millions of dollars, and they do the bare minimum. If you're going to support the people, get on the ground, get money, get resources to the civilians on the ground. A lot of times, like we said, what happens, the aid's sent to the government, but the government's so corrupt that then it ends up in the hands of the insurgency. So you're really just paying the insurgency.
Yeah.
That would be devastating to the region, to the civilian population as a whole. If the West is allowed back in, it needs to address the root causes that leads to this increase in insurgency. And the conflict in that region, especially in Mali, is driven by a complex set of factors. Those factors are poverty, hunger, and political instability. Anywhere you have that, you're going to have problems. You're going to have an insurgency.
Right.
If countries want to help, they have to start addressing those root causes.
Okay, well, you brought up Russia's possible influence in Mali, but the influence doesn't stop there. There are reports that Russia is recruiting. Oh my God.
Nailed it.
I just gave you so much crap for not being able to talk, and now my tongue is like firmly stuck to the top of the roof of my mouth. I need more water. All right, we're good now.
You sure that's water there?
Yes, it's water, Kervin. I was like holding up a glass and it's totally black. You can't see the water. Trying to show you as proof. Look, it's water. And it's a black cup that you can't see through. All right, so, okay. There are reports that Russia is recruiting, I nailed it that time, Cubans to fight in Ukraine. And according to these reports, Russia is paying Cuban citizens a signing bonus of $2,040, which is more than 100 times the average monthly salary of $17. Do you hear this?
Yeah.
$17 is the monthly average salary in Cuba. And they want them to fight against Ukraine for $2,040. But it's just a signing bonus. So I wonder how much they get paid after that.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean much.
It's the signing bonus plus what you're going to get paid as a fighter, as a freedom fighter. I guess is what it was called. And so it's going to be more money that they can send back to their family in Cuba and do good things for their family.
It's like it's like Russia finally recognizes that their people are just done as much as a lot of people are, so they're reaching out. But anyways, the Cuban government has accused Russia of operating a human trafficking network that lures young Cubans to enlist to fight in Ukraine. That doesn't sound good.
I like what you said there, though. Human trafficking network, that is exactly what it is.
Seems like that. You take them out of their homeland, bring them somewhere where they don't know anybody.
Yep.
They definitely don't speak the language.
Delusions of grandeur.
they lure them with this promise of money to send back to their family, but it's not nearly as much as they probably think. But okay, so what?
Yeah, what's the question, Tiana?
I'm getting there, right? What are the implications of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the broader geopolitical landscape? What is this going to do?
Right. So,
hold on one more second, though.
Yeah.
I am glad to hear that Cuba's government is speaking up and recognizes the manipulation tactics that Russia is using in order to get more soldiers. So,
yeah, definitely.
Cuba, I mean, there are other things we should talk about, but in this instance...
Well, you know how Russia skirts around that?
How?
Just pay the Cuban government to shut up.
Well, have they done that yet?
Not yet.
It's too late. It's already out there. There's already an article out there saying you are trafficking our young men.
So pay us money, and we'll stop putting it on the Twitters and the TikToks. Do people still TikTok?
I don't know. I've never TikToked, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so I gotta backtrack to where I'm going.
Let me.
Nope, I got it. I'm good.
Okay, you do. Okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to start with the reason why Russia can recruit so many Cubans to fight in their special military operation. Do you see the air quotes? I don't even have the air quotes up. Hold on.
You don't need air quotes.
Special military operation. Yeah.
But they're desperate. That's why, because $2,040 is not enough to lure me out of my house to go to that country and fight for something that I don't agree with at all. No.
But these recruits are motivated by the economic hardships and desperate circumstances that are going on in Cuba.
Right.
So if you're only making $17 a month.
Mm-hmm. A month. That's like turn of the century wages.
Let's say you make...
not turn of the...
1800s. No, 1900s.
Sorry. Turn century was, when our kids were all born, basically.
Gross. Okay, let's get back to this because that's too gross for me. But I mean, think about 100 times the average monthly salary. If you are an American making $42,000 a year or something like that, average U.S. salary,
right?
And somebody offered you 100 times your average salary, it'd be really tough not to accept that.
I think I mean, I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so I can't say. And also, we aren't in the dire financial straits that a lot of these people are in.
Yeah.
Like, they're desperate. They need the money for their families and stuff.
Hey, and you know what I love about you, Tiana? There's a lot of things. I won't get into that until we do our question and answer podcast. But you stay consistent.
What do you mean?
You said you had to think about it, and you were like, wanted to say, I would never take that money to go fight for, a war like that. But you were like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And that's very consistent with who you are. You always are going, well, I don't know how I'm going to react in that situation until I get into that situation. So
I'm going to react and it's not. And you're like, dial it back. Calm down.
Let's not get into those recent conversations where both of us have overreacted to things.
What about?
Oh, it was a parking lot discussion with another person.
We can't. Oh, the parking lot discussion with another person. That was fun, though. I wanted to high five you after, but we didn't.
We didn't.
No.
But
move on.
We got tons of questions in from people. If you want to send us a question, you can ask us what happened in the parking lot.
We will talk about that at the end of the podcast. They don't want to hear this crap right now.
Oh man, we are in it. We're midway. Ooh, and we still have a lot to go. So let's get back on track. Russia has found opportunities. So not Russia. Sorry, let me rephrase this.
See, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Tangents.
So Cubans who are in dire straits because the economy is bad, and with the amount of sanctions that Cuba has, they're not able to succeed within their countries. they're now finding opportunities within the Russian military to escape those dire conditions at home.
And enter life altering.
Yeah.
They're gonna come back so traumatized.
Yeah, but also 100 times your average salary is life-changing as well.
But it's one payment. It's literally because they signed. It was a signing bonus. So obviously that is inflated compared to what their actual salary will be once they're there. Because they get that $2,040 one time. And then after that, who knows how they'll probably just get paid $50.
And I don't know that they have a term life insurance.
Yeah, they don't include. I mean, I know Russia claims to have life insurance policies for soldiers. Basically, if they're not able to return from the front lines and everything. But they find reasons to not pay.
Yeah, of course,
little loopholes, and they're like, no, they did this. No, they went over here. No, so we're not going to give this to them. No, they only served this amount of time. So
yeah,
and
so the real
promises, it feels like
the real question is, what is the Cuban government stance on this matter?
Right,
because Cuba is an historical ally to Russia.
So you would think they'd be like, this is great.
Yeah, you'd say, oh, cool. Now, the U.S. State Department has expressed concern, suggesting the potential for international scrutiny of Cuba's role in facilitating this recruitment. So is what the government is saying publicly actually what's going on, or are they facilitating the recruitment?
Oh, that's a plot twist.
A little plot twist, but as you know, in every country, it's...
You can't take everything face value.
Yeah,
and you have to read between the lines, and
not everyone is aligned to one side or the other within the government.
Right.
That's just not how governments work.
No.
It is worth noting that Cuba has been experiencing economic difficulties for a while. That was exacerbated by the pandemic. 70 years now. The moment the U.S. stopped relations. That situation has led to a shortage in basic goods and services. That would include food and medicine. The Cuban government has been trying to address these issues through various measures, but these efforts have not been sufficient to alleviate the economic hardships faced by Cubans.
Okay, so what are the chances of Russia making quid pro quo requests, such as establishing a military base on that beautiful island just south of Florida?
I mean, and you're honestly right. If you look at the pictures of Cuba, it's a beautiful island. Anything within the Caribbean, it's just gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. And we aren't even beach people, but the only beaches I like going to are Caribbean beaches and like Central American beaches, because I'm not going to lie, Honduras was amazing.
Primo.
I loved Honduras.
If you're retired, you want to go somewhere, go to Honduras.
I want to go to St. Thomas. Oh, here we go. We're going on.
Banana daiquiri. Here we go. Okay, but you asked a great question.
Okay.
Because Russia is expanding its military presence in various parts of the world, and then we're not just talking about West Africa, we're talking about Syria, Venezuela. Also, Russia has been seeking to expand its sphere of influence, a military term there, sphere of influence.
Sphere.
In Latin America. That means strengthening its ties with Cuba. So it's something to watch closely. Even like pseudo-U.S. allies have been turning their support to Russia and China. We talked about Mexico. If the U.S. were to invade Mexico or joined BRICS, and they're talking about it. It's not happy because recently there have been public calls in the U.S. for U.S. military to be stationed in Mexico to deal with the cartels.
So which way are they going to go?
Yeah. Well, Latin America's...
BRICS, or have us come in here and sweep out your cartels. Actually, we're probably not going to do that. But I mean,
a little predictive analysis, it looks as though Mexico is trending towards BRICS.
Well, Biden is trending towards building the southern border wall. After all that crap that he talked about it.
Yeah. And so what did I say to you? You know, it was like, it's very easy when something happens to just call it whatever. oh, that's a bad thing because you're xenophobic or racist or whatever. And then you realize, oh, wait, it wasn't because of that. It's because it's actually a good idea to have legitimate borders around a free country.
Yeah.
So Latin America is going to play a very important role if this global conflict occurs in the near future, the World War III that we do not want to happen.
That has been talked about quite frequently in the last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Many countries have just dropped it. They're like, World War III's coming.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about it.
Not because I'm happy, but...
I know. Stresses me out. Oh, where was I? Oh, Latin America's playing an important role. So where Latin America aligns in a conflict between NATO and the Global South, let's bring that's a new terminology coming up, so that the Global South is Russia, China, and the emerging economies.
Uh-huh.
Wherever the Latin America countries align is going to play a huge role.
India, though.
Oh, yeah, India. South America?
South America?
Africa.
South Africa?
South Africa's in the Global South?
Just South Africa?
Well, I mean, it depends on how the Western Sahel turns. It's turning towards the Global South.
Okay.
I would say Eastern Africa is take out Somalia, just take Somalia out.
Okay.
And a lot of East Africa is very pro-Western.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't want to we should do an episode that's just who are the alliances coming up
Write that down, sir.
All right, Van Wilder, write that down.
Mark me.
Oh, who was that king? Not king. He wasn't king.
Yeah, Bonnie Prince Charlie.
Oh, Josh.
No, shut up. Get on task, buddy.
I'm just saying the McManus family's going to love to hear about that. They are huge Outlander fans.
Oh, they are?
But yeah, it's so dynamic right now. And this is why we continue this podcast, because I want to get this information out to people to let you know that things are coming. And so, let's be prepared.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were done talking.
Yeah. No, I didn't mute myself.
All right. Well, let's just bring it back to center here. We should probably be discussing the rush of bad news on the Sino-Russian relations recently. This week, Russia's state energy holding company, InterRAO, has imposed restrictions on electricity supplies to China following a dispute over a price hike demand. This is wild. This is falling apart a lot sooner than I anticipated it would.
Mm-hmm.
China said they would not pay the higher prices.
Good on China.
Yeah, good on China.
I tried that once with our energy company. It didn't work out.
Pay the higher. Well, for our water bill, that one time it leaked all over the place. Anyway,
I don't even want to get into that.
Okay. Well, good, because we need to focus, and we're having trouble doing that today. Apparently, I think we're just in a really good mood.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've discussed possible fractures in the NATO alliance, but could China and Russia be headed for a breakup after that big flashy show they made?
Well, it's still early, but, predictive analysis.
I mean, fingers crossed, honestly.
Fingers crossed. It looks to me like death by 1,000 paper cuts, meaning...
What is it? No. What?
Like, a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Just little infractions over and over again that eventually push somebody to make a decision one way or the other. Yeah, sometimes I'm smart.
I do think a lot of this has to do with the way the war in Ukraine's going.
Right.
So there's no doubt that Putin promised Xi a quick resolution.
Aren't the Olympics promised?
Yeah, there you go. You remember.
Yeah, I remember the talk and us discussing it on the podcast. And
I mean, we do some good stuff here. I mean, seriously, think about it.
That's right, babe. Let's make sure everybody knows it.
I'm just saying,
I know I'm not making fun of you. I'm sorry if that's.
I know you're not. My whole thing is, and then I'll get back on topic, is I wish people would I wish leaders would actually listen, because we have discussed how it's going to how things are going to turn, how events are going to happen, and then it happens, and it's like, if you'd have just listened to
people. We just know people. People
listen to all the other people, all the other intel guys that are bringing this to the forefront. But
I'm not even saying intel guys. I'm saying middle-aged housewives who just have
listen.
Listen about how people react in situations. Like
that is 100% true. I am not laughing about that. You're, and it's not like middle-aged house. I'm talking middle-class house.
Babe, it's okay. I know my station in life right now.
Well, was it Beyonce? Who runs the world?
Middle-aged housewives.
Yeah, run the world. It's true. You want to know who the most informed people are?
Middle-aged housewives.
Yeah, I will say that. Email me if you think it's different, and I will argue that point. We will go off the stage and debate. Okay, let's go. Let's get back on topic.
Oh my God!
So we're charging
with us today.
We're charging.
Just trying to keep your attention. We're trying.
No. Okay.
This has got going not well.
We are charging ahead to year 2 of this conflict, coming in February.
Oh wow!
And Putin, we think, if we believe the intel that's out there, told Xi it's going to be quick. We'll take Kiev and we'll be done with this.
It'll be easy. They'll just fold. It's fine.
That did not happen.
No, I didn't.
This current dispute reflects the complex relationship of all countries, energy needs, economic pressures, geopolitical considerations. It shows social considerations. It shows the evolving dynamics, not only in the global energy sector, but everywhere. Everything that a country drives a country. Everything that drives a country.
Exports, imports.
Yes.
All that stuff is messed with right now.
It's all messed with. And that's why we said everybody's pocketbooks are being hit because of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. And so it's very much impacts global markets.
Well, I need you to focus right now. I'm going to ask you one question, and we're not going to deviate from this question. You're going to
question, is that all for this week?
No, not yet. Not yet. Can you elaborate on what you're saying about what you think is going to happen because of China not wanting to pay the energy bill? Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. So China's reluctance to accept those higher rates for Russian imports may prompt China to explore alternative energy sources. They could increase liquefied natural gas imports for energy generation. This could have implication for all of Europe's energy supply dynamics, potentially reducing its dependence on Russian natural gas. Because if Europe is reducing its dependence on Russian natural gas, and then China is doing the same thing, where are they going to get that natural gas? Where is that going to happen? So it's going to hurt Europe. Not that I'm saying China shouldn't try to rely on a different type of liquefied natural gas. They should. But the dispute stems from China facing severe electricity problems due to droughts, also limits on increasing domestic coal production, and Russia is trying to offset the slump in its currency, which has hurt its export revenues. So that's why they're trying to increase the prices. China doesn't want to pay those increased prices because it has its own economic problems. And so China's refusal to accept Russia's demands for higher electricity price underscores that hard-nosed negotiating approach and the strong bargaining position that China has due to its energy needs. And so it could hurt us in the West.
Eventually, at some point, right?
Some point, yeah.
Well, we're already hurting. A lot of people are struggling. I'm not going to say we, because we are actually we are okay. Yeah, we're okay. And I don't want to act like we are on the same, we're not going through the same things that a lot of other people in our country are going through, because we're not. We're very blessed, but
Definitely.
There are a lot of people hurting right now. Well, anyways, I just want to thank you, Kervin, and I also want to thank our listeners if they were able to maintain a trajectory in this podcast, because we kind of went all over the place. And if you're still here with us and you're still focusing on what we're saying and you're able to follow what we're saying, which is a gift, because we go all over the place sometimes. Thank you for listening to us. But is there anything else for this week?
We got a ton of questions already in, so thank you for that. Keep sending them out. We're going to record that episode real soon, so get your questions.
Yeah, he'll post something on Instagram, or you can also email either one of us and send in your questions, but I would prefer if you send it to him because he already has the list of questions. Yep. If you send them to me, I might forget to send them to him, and then it won't be on the show, and then you'll be sad, and I don't want to hurt your feelings, because I love all of you for giving us a chance, because I, for one, don't know what I'm talking about most of the time, and the fact that you're still here with us, with me as the person asking the questions, I appreciate that, because I don't have the experience that Kervin has in all these arenas. I just read a lot, that's all.
But that's why you are the most important person in this podcast, and I don't say that lightly. No, I don't say it lightly, because you ask the questions that everyone else is thinking about, and so that's very important.
But anyways, like I was saying, he's going to put something on Instagram. What is it?
Today. We'll do it.
Today thing. No, I mean, you're going to do it today and tomorrow to make sure that people can put in questions. We do have questions that we will be getting to.
I really appreciate it. We have tons of questions now, much like we do. I procrastinate a lot, so it took a bit, but man, I really appreciate everybody. Yeah. And every question really means a lot to us.
We just appreciate the fact that you've been listening to us for 2 years, because there are several people who put in questions last year for our 1-year anniversary episode. Yep. We're putting in questions this year, which means you're still here listening to us mumble through so many topics, leap to different subjects in between those topics, still following us. And I don't know, we just appreciate it. We didn't expect this.
And we will have that conversation too in that episode where
we're going to talk about how wonderful you guys are, because we don't.
I will name names.
We have a very tight community of people that consistently engage with us, and we appreciate it. And there might even be like a little song.
Ooh, get ready, guys! It's not going to be me singing.
No, I think this might be the time that I mean, not right now, but on the anniversary episode, we need to talk about this one listener and follower who likes all of our posts, but he has some bops that we really enjoy. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know if he'll listen to the end of this, but if he does, we're coming for you.
If you know who you are.
Yeah, we don't want to give it up yet, because we're going to reach out beforehand to make sure it's okay that we
I'm doing that tonight.
Share the song. Yeah, we want to make sure we can share the song, because
I love it.
We listen to it all the time, and y'all be nice, because he's young, but he's I love his music.
Favorite. It's one of my favorite songs.
I'm really fighting myself not to sing it right now.
So. No, I know, and I will DM, but also. Hey, Emery's making songs for people. I should ask them to make a song for us.
No, you should not ask that. They have done enough for us, so shut your mouth hole.
I'd pay for it.
No, I don't. Oh, you're going to pay them for it.
Yeah.
Shut up. We're not.
Okay.
They are busy. They are busy enough. They don't need to they've done enough for you and the family right now.
I won't even get into that, because...
Yeah, just wait. We'll talk about that next time.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. Not at all, but we just want to thank you guys. Shut up, Kervin. I've got a spiel right now.
Okay.
I'm laughing at me.
With you. Jeez.
Okay. So anyways, we just want to thank all of you for listening to our humble, little independent geopolitical podcast. We hope that you found it both informative and engaging. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please let us know. And if you would like in-depth coverage of these stories and more, follow us on Instagram at Oakland Analytics.
Tiana, thank you so much. And until next week, stay safe out there.